pocket.
Hello, little fella.
Jemima had brought her school hamster home for the weekend because it was her turn to look after him.
So what's your name then, eh?
He's called Julian, Grandpa.
Julian. That's a funny name for a hamster, eh, Beowulf?
You're going to have the best time ever. Nobody else can handle you as well as I can.
Little did we know that today we were all going to learn how to handle a hamster.
I'm going to ask Dad if I can have a hamster of my own, Grandpa.
Oh, you are you?
Now Dad was in the garden sawing some wood. He was going to mend a hole in the floor in the downstairs toilet. Dad's always mending things, especially bikes, because he runs the bike shop in town. He fixes tyres and wheels and chains He's really good at fixing bikes, but not quite so good at fixing other things.
Don't go in the downstairs toilet, Grandpa. I'm fixing a hole in the floor.
Dad! Please, can I have a hamster like Julian? Please?
Well, if you show me you can look after Julian, I might just think about it.
Yes! Come on, let's make you comfy. Aw, I wish Mum could see you, Julian.
Mum was away on a cooking course. Cooking was her latest hobby. Mum's always taking up new hobbies. One week it's karate, then it's salsa dancing, then cake decorating, the ukulele, knitting, opera singing, but she's left us this. A scrummy sausage stew to heat up for our tea.
Sausage stew. Oh, our favourite, eh, Wolfie? I can smell a sausage stew a mile away. Do you fancy a bit of sausage, Julian?
No, Grandpa. Hamsters eat seeds.
And they drink water. I'll fill this up.
No, I'll do it, Jason. Let me.
Come on, then. There we are. Uh-oh. The door's open. He's out. He's out. Jemima! Jason!
What's the matter, Grandpa?
Jemima soon found out what the matter was. Julian had gone.
Julian's gone! Jason, it's your fault. You shouldn't have taken the bottle.
I was only trying to help.
He could be anywhere. Maybe he's in the kitchen.
He's so small, he can get into really tiny places.
A bit like me, eh? I can get into really tiny places when I'm small.
Uh-oh. Grandpa was thinking of using his shrinking cap.
I'll find Julian.
Not the shrinking cap, Grandpa!
Catch me if you can.
Grandpa, come back! You know when Grandpa shrinks, he can get up to all kinds of magical things. Get down, Grandpa! He can fly off in my plane. Grandpa, stop! He can get into my car and make it go. You know, once Grandpa's got an idea in his head, there's no stopping him. He drove my car into the hallway just as Jemima came back in.
He's not in the kitchen. We mustn't tell Dad or I'll never get my own hamster.
Bit too long, this one. What's the matter?
Nothing.
Grandpa gone for a little lie down, has he? Oh well, I'll try this again.
Whenever Grandpa shrinks, everyone thinks he's gone for a lie down. Except me, of course.
Why does Grandpa have to go and lie down just when we need him?
But Jemima grabbed her chance. Off she went to look for Julian in the toilet, while Dad was gone. Meanwhile, Grandpa was waiting for his chance in my car in the hall. Then suddenly we heard...
Ah! Oh no! No! Julian's gone through the hole in the toilet. He'll be under the floorboards or we'll never find him now.
Oh, yes, we will.
Grandpa was off. He zoomed through the kitchen, and Jemima was too busy crying to notice him. I rushed after him into the toilet, but by the time I got there, Grandpa had gone. So, not only was Julian under the floorboards, but so was Grandpa.
Julian! Julian! Come out. I know you're here somewhere. Ah, there you are. Come on. Come on, little chap, don't be frightened. I'm only trying to help you. It's all right, Julian. Don't be frightened. Are you there, Julian? Come back, Julian! Where are you? Come back, Julian!
Come back, Julian. Please come back. Please, Julian.
This time, Grandpa had gone too far. I was worried that he'd come out of the hole instead of Julian. But Grandpa wasn't about to come out because
I'm completely lost. Bother.
I was trying to work out what to do when suddenly I heard... Are you there, Grandpa?
Yes! Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you all right?
Yes, but I'm a little bit lost.
What shall I do?
Put the hamster food next to the hole. Julian will smell it and come on out.
But how can I get you out, Grandpa?
Oh, you'll think of something.
What are you doing, Jason?
Nothing.
What are you doing, Jemima?
Nothing.
We'll have to tell Dad where Julian is. He's about to cover up the hole.
I know. And if he does that, I'll never see Julian again.
Of course, I was worried that I'd never see Grandpa again. The thing about Grandpa is that he's always fun. We play lots of games.
I certainly did, Captain.
We read Captain Dumble-twit stories.
And his rocket sprung out of the side of the spaceship.
We share our ice cream. We suck up our spaghetti. And Grandpa is always like this. And just then, Dad came back out of the toilet with the plank.
Wrong size. Too short this time. Try again.
I've got a plan. Listen. Jemima put the hamster food in front of the hole so that Julian would smell it.
At last, you've had a good idea, Jason.
Thanks. I couldn't tell her that it was actually Grandpa's good idea. We waited really quietly, both hoping that Julian would smell the food and come out.
Julian's come out. Look, he's here. Oh, you're so cute. I'm so glad I found you.
The good news was that Julian was safe and sound. The bad news was that Grandpa was still under the floorboards.
Jemima, can you help me measure this, please?
Luckily, Dad called Jemima. I just had a few minutes to rescue Grandpa. I needed the plan, and I needed it fast. If Julian could find his way back by smelling his favourite food, then maybe it could work for Grandpa too. So I put the cold sausage stew down by the hole in the toilet.
Sausage stew. I could smell sausage stew a mile away.
Grandpa, you came back!
Of course I came back. I wasn't going to miss out on the sausage stew.
Quick, get to your chair. Grandpa soon whipped off his shrinking cap and came back to his normal size. He was back in his chair just as Dad and Jemima came in with a new plank.
Third time lucky.
Well, Julian, I said I'd find you, and I did. Couldn't have done it without Jason, though. Teamwork, eh?
Teamwork. Grandpa really enjoyed his sausage stew.
Wolfie, come on.
And so did Beowulf.
Good boy.
Guess what? Dad said I could have a hamster of my own if I want one. But I think they're too much work.
So do I.
Huh? What do you mean, Grandpa? You didn't do anything.
Oh, didn't I?
Grandpa in my pocket! Grandpa, Jemima and I were making a wild and scary animal park with our wild and scary animals.
Is Bob the Shark wild and scary enough, do you think?
I don't think so, Grandpa.
Oh, it could be.
I think we need some more animals.
Just then, the doorbell rang. I ran to answer it, and who should be standing there? Hi!
Bubbles!
Bubbles the babysitter. Bubbles is always great fun. Sometimes we make things. Sometimes we play bat and ball. Sometimes we do face painting. And today, guess what she brought with her?
He wanted to see my best friends right away. He's so cute. Oh, come on, little
Bubbles took her new little friend out of its basket.
girl. Oh, there we go, little.
It was so cute.
Oh, Bubbles. And who's this?
He's called Squeak.
So this was the day we all got to play with Bubbles and Squeak.
Dear. I think Wolfie's a bit scared of Squeaky. Probably thinks he's wild and scary.
Just as well it's time for his walk then. Coming with me, Jason?
Yes, please. I need to get some monkeys from Mr. Whip's shop. We must have more monkeys. So off I went with Dad and Wolfie. I hoped Grandpa wouldn't put on his shrinking cap and shrink while I was out. You know what happens when he does. He does this, and this, and this.
Catch me if you can.
He can get up to all kinds of mischief. He can get in my car and make it go. He can chuff around in our Sunny Sands train. He can even fly off in my plane. But Grandpa only ever shrinks when he thinks there's a problem. And with Bubbles and Squeak, of course there wouldn't be a problem. But just then,
I came round the back.
a problem turned up.
Floyd.
Floyd lives in the house opposite, and he goes to my school. He loves boasting.
Look at my new watch.
He loves playing jokes.
Boo! Boo! Boo!
And he always wants everything his own way. Grandpa agrees with me. Floyd is a big, spoilt show-off.
Check out my new skateboard.
What is that?
It's Squeak.
Kittens are stupid pets.
Squeak is not a stupid pet. He's a wild and scary cat. And he's going to be part of our wild and scary animal park.
Nice one, Grandpa.
Actually, I've got loads of wild and scary pets. You need to see them. Wait right there. Floyd, we really don't need to see anything wild and scary. Oh no, he's gone.
Grandpa, being Grandpa, had an idea.
Well, Squeak, I think Bubbles is going to need a bit of help with that boy, Floyd.
He took out his shrinking cap, and to Squeak's amazement, Grandpa shrank. He hid on a shelf, just as Jemima and Bubbles came back.
Oh, Grandpa must have gone for a little lie down.
Whenever Grandpa shrinks, everyone thinks he's gone for a little lie down.
Oh, you're back in your basket, Squeak. I'm back. Want to see my rat?
Do I want to see your rat? No thanks.
Oh, go on.
No, I really don't want to see your rat.
Just a peep. It was only a toy rat,
Gotcha!
but it still made Bubbles jump, and Grandpa was cross.
Come in the garden! One of my other wild pets is out there. Too wild to bring inside. Come on!
He's only playing tricks, Bubbles.
Yes, but you know me. I'm not very good at tricks.
Tricks, eh? Well, we'll see about tricks.
He's in this plant. Tiptoe very quietly because he's asleep. And if you wake him up, he gets really wild.
Bubbles knew that Floyd was just going to play a trick with some kind of fake pet, but she was still really nervous. At that moment, Grandpa ran out of the kitchen and hid.
Are you there, Simon?
Simon?
Yeah. He's my, snake.
Of course, Bubbles knew that Simon was a plastic snake, but she hated being chased.
Oh, I hate being chased.
Stop it, Floyd. She hates being chased.
Then, Grandpa came out of his hiding place and got up onto the table.
Don't tell anyone I'm here, Squeak. I'm going to hide round the back.
Oh, stop, please stop. It's such fun chasing you, Bubbles. Is it? Oh, good.
You'd hate to be chased like that.
Chasing doesn't bother me. Nothing bothers me.
Come on, Bubbles. Let's go and get a drink.
Floyd went up to Squeak, and Grandpa got ready to put his plan into action.
Well, hi there, Wildcat. You're really scary, aren't you?
Ha! Floyd turned his back on Squeak again, but this time Grandpa went...
Meow!
Was that you yowling? Trying to make me jump, are you? Ha! No chance.
Grandpa's first plan hadn't worked, so he jumped off the table and ran towards the pond. He saw the shell, and that gave him an idea.
Oh, what's the matter, Floyd? There's nothing the matter with me, but there's something the matter with your kitten. It yowled at me. Yow!
Bubbles and Jemima dashed outside to see if Squeak was okay. And of course, Squeak was fine.
Oh, he's fine. But I think he might be better off inside.
With Bubbles and Jemima out of the way, Floyd suddenly spotted the big shell.
Hey, cool shell. I could pretend there's a wild animal in that. There actually is a wild animal in it. Brilliant. Hey, Bubbles! Oh, I see. Trying to scare me now, are you? Nothing scares me.
And that was the moment I arrived home with Dad and Beowulf.
Floyd, fancy seeing you here. Are you okay?
Yes, but guess what? There's a wild animal in that shell. I'm going to get Bubbles.
One of his jokes, I suppose. Come on, Wolfie.
I knew that this was probably not one of Floyd's jokes. And I knew who the wild animal would be. Oh, yes. Grandpa!
I had to. Floyd has been trying to make Bubbles jump, and I've been trying to make him jump back, but it hasn't worked. I'm going to try one more thing. I have to get into the pond, and you have to get inside and fetch me the shark.
This time, Grandpa was about to go too far.
Come and see! There really is a wild animal in that shell!
While Floyd was trying to persuade Bubbles and Jemima to come outside, I ran into the sitting room.
No more jokes, Floyd. It's not a joke!
I got Grandpa what he needed and ran back into the garden.
Come on, there's a wild animal outside. Come on. Floyd, come here! Quick, come quick! I'll be back.
I saw something move in the pond. What? It's probably our shark.
Your shark?
He's very small, but he's very fierce. Grandpa's plan was working. He was underwater, making my plastic shark move. Just when Floyd was really close, Grandpa made this happen. While Floyd ran inside, I fished Grandpa out of the pond as quickly as I could.
I'm so sorry I tried to scare you. I was only joking. But now I know what it feels like now that that shark made me jump out of my skin.
Hey! So Jason played a trick on you for once, eh, Floyd?
I guess so. But I won't play another joke again, I promise.
It's okay, Floyd. I shouldn't let your jokes bother me. They are only jokes after all.
Yeah. Want to see my spider?
Yes.
While everyone was laughing at Bubbles stroking a plastic spider,
So brave.
I took Grandpa in my pocket to the sitting room.
Cap off, Grandpa, quick!
Well, Jason, I don't think Floyd will try any of those tricks on Bubbles again, do you?
No, Grandpa, we did it. Teamwork, I say.
Teamwork!
Here we are. More monkeys.
Oh, just the job, Jason.
Grandpa, your cap's all wet.
Is it? Oh, of course. That's because I've been swimming with the sharks.
Grandpa in my pocket. It was the school holidays, and Grandpa, Jemima and I were playing a Captain Dumbletwit board game.
I get the planet Matoki.
I wanted that one.
Mum and Dad were getting ready to go away for a few days.
I go.
The good news was that while they were away, Mr. Like a Biker was looking after the bike shop. And there's nothing Mr. Like a Biker likes more. The bad news was, guess who was looking after Grandpa, Jemima and me? Great Aunt Loretta, Grandpa's sister. Great Aunt Loretta is always making spinach and sprout shake, which we call green gloop.
Yum!
And all kinds of weird food that she thinks is yum.
Yum!
And she's often like this, or like this, or like this. And she makes Grandpa feel like this.
Now then. And don't you chew my slippers, you bad boy. I know what you're like.
Aunt Loretta isn't keen on Beowulf. In fact, she isn't keen on animals at all.
You sure you're going to be all right, Aunt Loretta?
Yes, I'll look after them. I'm good at looking after things.
Oh, no.
What?
I just remembered.
What?
Looking after things.
What?
I'm supposed to be looking after something today for my friend Dory.
What?
This was what? Mr. Scoffbucket, the goat.
Just a scuff bucket. I wonder why it's called that.
Aw, I think he looks really cute.
Beowulf didn't think Mr. Scoffbucket looked at all cute. He ran to the house and up to my bedroom.
Here are the instructions for how to take care of him.
Yes, it's just for today. Doreen will collect him this evening.
Are you sure you'll be all right?
Yes, we'll be all right. So will Mr. Scoffbucket. Don't you worry.
So Mum and Dad went off on their holiday, and we were left in charge of Mr. Scoffbucket.
Right, Jemima. Now, let's see this list.
No, leave it to me.
Oh, I have a way with goats. I can talk to them. They like me.
Don't be so silly.
Aw, I think he's so sweet.
Don't touch it.
I'll get a bucket for some water.
And Jemima went off to the garage in search of a bucket.
You never can tell with goats. I was once butted in the bottom by one. Oh, you think that's funny, do you? Get inside, the pair of you. Leave this to me.
So I followed Grandpa inside. But I didn't think for 1 second he would leave Mr. Scoffbucket to Great Aunt Loretta.
Now, don't do anything bad, you. Ugh. I'm going to do the washing, I am.
Well, Jason, if she won't let us help her, and she's sent us indoors, there's only one thing for it.
Not a shrinking cap, Grandpa.
Catch me if you can.
You know when Grandpa shrinks, all kinds of magical things happen. He can get into my car and make it go. He can chuff around in my Sunny Sands train. And he can even fly off in my plane. And that's what he did today.
Stop that plane, Jason! Stop it!
Great Aunt Loretta thinks my plane is radio controlled and that I'm making it go.
Oh, go and get the peg bag, you annoying boy.
At that moment, Grandpa landed my plane right next to Mr. Scoffbucket.
Don't worry, Mr. Scoffbucket. We won't let her be nasty to you. Just do as I say, and everything will be fine.
And Grandpa hid just as Jemima came back with the bucket.
Jason, your plane. Mr. Scoffbucket could have trampled all over that. Thanks.
Grandpa gone for a little lie down, has he? Oh, typical. Leaves me to do everything.
I'll look after Mr. Scoffbucket.
Me too!
Oh, no, you can't. He is dangerous. And I'm in charge. What would your mother say if I let you get nibbled by a goat?
So off went Great Aunt Loretta with the bucket.
Now, just you drink that and try and behave yourself. You kicked it, didn't you? You kicked the bucket. You should be called Mr. Kick Bucket, you should. He kicked the bucket. He's a bad goat. I knew it.
I'm not sure that was such a good idea. You'll only make her worse.
A little later, we all helped Great Aunt Loretta to hang out the washing. Suddenly, I saw Grandpa. He climbed a tree to get a better view. Grandpa was laughing at Great Aunt Loretta's washing. And I didn't blame him because it looked like this.
We'll go and get Mr. Scoffbucket's food ready.
Oh, you will you?
Great Aunt Loretta insisted that she should give Mr. Scoffbucket his food. So Jemima and I stood watching her. She once got butted in the bottom by a goat.
There. Now, don't spill it. Eat it nicely. Yum.
But Mr. Scoffbucket didn't think the food was yum. He kicked the bucket over. At that moment, I saw Grandpa jump out of the tree.
Oh, my ankle.
Then Grandpa climbed onto Mr. Scoffbucket's back.
Well, that wasn't very sensible, if you don't mind me saying. No, stay here.
But
No,
Mr. Scoffbucket had a plan.
He did it. He butted me in the bottom. Oh.
Now, that really hasn't helped, has it?
Oh, get the peas, Jason. That's it.
So I went to the freezer to get the peas that we keep especially for these moments. Usually, Great Aunt Loretta hurts her toe, and we put the peas on that. This time, it was her bottom. Meanwhile, Mr. Scoffbucket was eating Great Aunt Loretta's pants.
He's eating me pants.
And at that moment, Mr. Scoffbucket pulled the washing line down.
Run! Upstairs, come on.
And Grandpa came running in. I was hoping he had another plan, because we were desperate now.
We need help, Jason. We need someone strong and brave and... I know. Write me a note, quick.
So I grabbed a pencil, and Grandpa told me what to write.
Calm down, Great Aunt Loretta. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Fine? How can it be fine? He's knocked me over. He's eaten me pants. What's he going to do next?
He's running around the sitting room.
You see? He'll eat everything. And then he'll make a terrible mess. And then he'll probably go to the...
Great Aunt Loretta doesn't say the word toilet out loud because she thinks it's rude. I looked out of my bedroom window and saw Grandpa flying off in my plane. He'd gone for help.
Oh, I like a bottle with a slurpy, nozzly type thing.
Mr. Like a Biker was having a great time sorting things out.
Need more bottles?
And at that moment, who should fly in but Grandpa? As Grandpa flew over the counter, he dropped my note. Then, as quickly as he came, he was gone.
Hello, what's this? It's a note. Oh, it's from Jason. I missed him. Please come to the Mason house at once. Mr. Scoff Bucket has eaten Great Aunt Loretta's pants. Oh no. I hope she wasn't wearing them at the time. Right, I must go. Yes, right. Here we go!
Soon, Grandpa was back home. I'll be right back. Mr. Scoff Bucket had eaten a pile of newspapers and was halfway through Great Aunt Loretta's slipper. I ran outside to find Grandpa.
Cap off, Grandpa, quick!
Don't worry, Jason. Help is on the way.
Never fear! Like a Biker's here!
That way!
Oh, right.
We did it, Jason. Mr. Like a Biker will sort out Mr. Scoff Bucket in no time.
Teamwork!
Teamwork!
Mr. Like a Biker led Mr. Scoff Bucket out into the garden.
Come on, Philip.
Philip?
Yeah, it's his first name. Philip Scoff Bucket. If you use their first names, they're always a lot more friendly.
So Philip Scoff Bucket waited patiently to be collected, and we all tidied up inside. Later, everything was back to normal.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Like a Biker. I don't know what we'd have done without you.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I'm quite keen on goats.
Yeah, that's what Grandpa said. Oh, that lot of help he was. He just went for a little lie down.
You wouldn't let me help. If you'd let me help, Mr. Scoff Bucket wouldn't have eaten your slipper. Or your pants. Yum!